Hi guys, today we're heading off to Clevedon for a traditional day by the sea. Summer is coming to an end and harvest has begun. At Clevedon there's a lovely walk along Poet's Way, so named because both Coleridge and Tennyson spent time here and took inspiration from the sea views. The churchyard is really beautiful, looking out towards the ocean. It's proper old English murder mystery landscape this. The perfect place to write a novel. We've talked a lot about bench dedications during my trip. There's a bench a little further up with a poetic inscription by Claire Harner. There's also a little green man looking after the bench. There's another path that leads to an Iron Age hill fort, but that's in the opposite direction, maybe next time. Today we're heading to the pier. This is an old lookout post built in 1835 by the Finzel family, who were sugar merchants based in Bristol. At one point, their refinery was the largest in England, employing over 700 people. They used this lookout to watch for ships bringing sugar from the West Indies. Continuing down the path, there's a surprise at the bottom. This is Clevedon Lio. A lido is an outside swimming pool. This one was built in 1929, but became derelict by the 1960s. It was fully restored in 1915, and it's now a local attraction for people to swim, boat and splash about safely in the seawater. It's filled each year at the spring tide, when the waves rise higher than the lido wall. It's a popular place to take a dip, but chilly. There's no heating or protection from the coastal breeze. Right, on towards the pier. This is the Welsh flag, perhaps one of the coolest flags ever designed, as it has a big red dragon on it. We're in England at the moment, but the sea that we can see forms the Bristol Channel. On a clear day, you can see right across to Wales on the other side. One thing about English beaches is they do tend to be very pebbly. There's a beach at Weston-super-Mare about half an hour south, which is nice and sandy, but pebbly beaches are something England excels at. This is something else you often find along the seaside and in public parks. It's a bandstand where people used to play music. They're not used as often nowadays, but you do sometimes see a band in them for special occasions. This one was built in 1887. There's a sign that says the town is twinned with Middelkerk in Belgium, Epernay in France and Ettlingen in Germany. Though what that means in practical terms, I'm not entirely certain. Twinning towns is a popular thing in the UK. At least we're getting closer to the pier. Walking between these boats reminds me of Essaouira in Morocco last year, but they didn't have an ice cream van. This is another popular British tradition. When you visit the seaside, you have to get a 99, which is a particular type of ice cream. We'll grab one on the way back. And here we are. We've finally made it to the pier. A pier is just a long walkway that goes out to sea. They were mostly built by the Victorians, after trains had been invented and people started taking their families to the seaside on weekends. This one was built in 1869, but was restored and reopened 120 years later after it partially collapsed. There is a cafe on the pier, but we arrived a little early and it wasn't open, so we crossed the road to Scarlett's. You can't walk off a meal along the pier before you've eaten anything. I have fond memories of this cafe, as they used to be famous for making glorious waffles with strawberries, cream and chocolate sauce. They've changed hands since we were last here and no longer make the waffles, but they do nice paninis and this very impressive avocado on toast. Fully fed, we headed out along the pier. This glass box on the right is the cafe. If you want a fun side quest, pop inside and head down the steps to the very bottom. Then turn right and continue to the room at the end. There's a really cute little window that lets you look underneath the pier. There's also some nice photographs on the wall. I've explained before about the tradition of dedicating benches to people. Clevedon had a very clever idea for helping to fund the restoration and maintenance of the pier. They allow people to buy a dedication plaque. If you sponsor a wooden plank on the pier, you can put someone's name on it. So, all along the walkway and benches, there are messages and dedications. This is a cute one. Someone used it to ask his girlfriend to marry him, then bought another one after she said yes. We also bought one for Marilyn's mum after she passed on. That's Wales over there, possibly towards the capital, Cardiff, which is where I did my postgrad. There's a pavilion at the end of the pier. You can climb up it for a better view. There's Wales again. The Bristol Channel is a major shipping lane that supplies Wales and the south of England. The end of the pier is a good place for ship watching. As you head back to the beginning, you can go through the gift shop. This looks like the figurehead from a ship, making sure everybody pays at the till. After a stroll along the prom, it's time to get that 99. It's a Mr. Whippy ice cream, which I think Americans call soft serve. Then, very important, it has to have a flake in it, which is a stick of crumbly chocolate. It's also common to add sauce, particularly raspberry sauce, which is this red stuff here. This is a very traditional British seaside ice cream, perfect for enjoying the view. On the way back, we passed some other traditional seaside distractions. British seaside towns are synonymous with arcades. These are places full of brightly coloured games. This is a really popular game where you put 2p pieces into the slot and hope that they push out more coins than you put in. Sometimes there are other prizes as well. Shooter games and racing games are also popular. Me and my dad used to play this for hours. It's called Shufflepuck. A plastic disc floats on a bed of air, and you have to try and smack it into your opponent's goal. Mini golf and crazy golf are also popular seaside pastimes. Clevedon even has a skate park for skateboards and roller skaters. We headed back past the Lido. Dad and I grabbed a cold drink and sat on a bench whilst Marilyn made the brave decision to go swimming. It was a lovely day by the seaside. Heading home, you can just see the Severn Bridge, which is a motorway crossing that connects England and Wales.